What's going on, everyone? We got some really exciting news this past week regarding Archeage, specifically for KR. However, this will affect the future of Archeage Unchained, as we will be getting it sometime in the near future, as Krolin did state on Twitter that it is very possible that we could see this most recent update that KR is getting sometime in maybe December or January. So it's really not too far away, but it's far away enough for it to not be immediately important, but it's good to go over and be aware of what it is to expect in the coming future of the game. So the first thing, getting into this article, and we're going to try to go through this pretty quickly for everyone, is a new world boss. All right, the new world boss is Calidus. All right, for those of you who have done the Bloodsalt Bay Arena, he is that giant mouth tentacle creature that is at the center of the map and just fires laser beams and poison globs, and he's a pain in the ass. You hate him, all right? But he is coming to the open world. It says that he's going to be in Whalesong Strait, so that's really exciting. There's going to be a new world boss that spawns. It's supposed to be on the same level as Leviathan and Black Dragon, aka he's not going to be killed anytime soon. That being said, he does drop gear that is equivalent to Leviathan. However, it is going to be a leather set. So Leviathan currently drops a plate set of gear. Calidus is going to drop a leather set of gear. All right, and this is what it looks like. It's very pretty. Got a really nice cloak to go with it too. Just like the Leviathans, or just like Haram, really, just like Haram, it's going to have synthesis effects on it. So you're going to be able to choose the stats that you want on the gear when you get it, on top of its equip set effects. All right, so it's a 5-piece set, and the headpiece gives 3% increased skill damage. The chest gives 4% evasion. It's a lot. The pants give physical and magic defense penetration. The gloves are going to give you focus, and the feet are going to give you 5% move speed. The set effect is pretty standard. It is 50% swim speed and 20% stealth detection for the equipped set effects. So those are pretty nice. Nothing too drastic with it. You know, I don't expect us to see this gear being used on Unchained for a really long time. Depending on how difficult the boss is, you may not even see it on Legacy for a long time, as even Leviathan isn't killed that often. But it's still cool to see that we are still getting new bosses and all this other stuff coming to the game. So it's something to look forward to in the long haul of the server. Another new thing is that we are getting a new world PvP event that is going to take place. It's a faction versus faction event on Ynysere and Cinderstone. There are going to be these towers that spawn that you have to purify and destroy. The event lasts for 30 minutes. It has 3 stages, 10 minutes for each stage. However, each stage has points that are worth a different amount. So what you do in one stage is going to be worth more than another. There will be, more towers in a different phase than another phase. The first faction to get to 3,000 points wins. You can get these points by purifying towers or by killing the enemy faction. So you can PvP for this event to win it. It's actually a really cool thing to win, because if you win, you get guards stationed at those trade outlets in that zone. So if you win in Ynysere, you will get guards of your faction stationed at the cargo outlet there, and anybody from the opposing faction that tries to go there is going to be attacked. So they're not going to be able to take packs there. This will, might have a slight effect on the economy in some way, or maybe, make you have to think about where you want to place your land. Now, if you're, if you wanted to place land in Ynysere as Nuian, or vice versa, as Haranian to Cinder, probably not, but you never know. But it's cool that there's another event to PvP over that brings a open world impact to the game. It gives something in the open world value, which is really, really nice to have. And since it's on such a large scale, it impacts the entire faction. One of the really big things coming with this patch is a whole bunch of new skills. Yeah, we're getting a whole bunch of new skills, and the first one is Swiftblade. Swiftblade is getting ancestral skills. Yes. However, they're only getting one type of ancestral skill for its 3 skills. So its first one is Triple Cut. From what it looks like, Triple Cut, they make it a faster attack, so it has a even lower GCD and is going to be a really fast attack. However, it's not going to give you the dash anymore, and it's not going to apply a shadow mark. So it kind of loses some of its value there in terms of what it was good for, with it doubling as a mobility skill and a mark applying skill, which allowed you to combo with the rest of your Swiftblade skills. So we'll see how it works and how the damage plays out with it, but we can't test that for a while. The next one is Execute. Execute is actually getting a really nice ancestral. It is going to remove the GCD use of it, so now you can fully combo that Impale Execute combo that there's going to be from all those curse brands. So some of you might actually hate that, those of you who are a victim of curse brands and getting Impale executed and getting that duration extended. This is just going to make that combo that much easier to get off in terms of the overall player. The last one is your teleport skill in Swiftblade. You are no longer going to be able to teleport back to where you started from. However, upon reaching your destination of your teleport, you will be stealthed for 1 second. So the gimmick about this is that it will allow you to potentially do 2 different things. One, you can teleport far away, stealth for a second, try and change whatever direction is you're going to throw somebody off really quickly. Or the one that I think most people are going to be using it for is getting a nice 18-meter teleport into a 6-meter stealth Shadow Smite. Getting that stealth Shadow Smite is a really big deal for a lot of melee, and this is going to allow a little bit of that synergy to come into play for those of you who are wanting to play Death Wish. Still going to be a little point starved, but this does at least add some sort of combo synergy into it, while also giving mobility at the same time. The next one is going to be Mend. Mend is getting 3 different ancestral forms, which it is, as far as I know, the first skill to get 3 different ancestrals for 1 skill. The first one is going to be that it creates a healing dot on everybody up to 10 people. So really you can just kind of think of it as like a nice little AoE dot that goes on across your raid group. The second one is that it's going to increase the range of Mend by 5 meters, so gives you a little more range to be able to heal everybody up to 23 meters away. However, you will not be healed anymore, so Mend will no longer heal you, just everybody else within 23 meters, but it also looks like it reduces it down to 5 people instead of 10. Seems a little more like a nerf, but hard to say right now. And the last one is that instead it is going to make it a shield. The shield is actually pretty interesting, as it's not going to give any healing anymore, and it is still going to give up to 10 people the shield, but when you add in the spammability that you can get from Mend, this could introduce something really interesting for healers in terms of raid, as it will allow more of a constant damage mitigator to go on in a raid v raid format. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out for people. The next one is probably the weirdest one to translate, and that is Frenzy from Battle Rage. Frenzy, the beloved skill of all you berserker freaks, is getting an ancestral. And the first one is that it is going to last for 10 seconds, makes you immune to push and pull effects, physical attack plus 40 from each received attack, up to 10 stacks, 70% less mana consumed, all the basics of Frenzy. However, the thing that seems to be a little weird in the translation is that instead of it reducing the duration of debuffs, it reduces the duration of buffs. And it doesn't say anything about increasing the amount of damage you take from stacks. So it sounds like this could potentially be by getting a shorter time on any buffs that are applied to you. You in turn no longer get that increased damage taken, and you just get the normal frenzy duration kind of thing. You still get stunned after the end of the use of it. The other one is really interesting. It is not going to function on the GCD. However, on use, you consume 90% of your HP, 90% of your current HP. So not your max HP, just your current health. Whatever it is currently, you lose 90% of it. Lasts for 10 seconds, makes you immune to push and pull effects. Received healing is reduced by 50%, and you get an immediate 200 physical attack gain increase. So this could be really interesting for some people who just want to, if you get somebody comboed up and you think you can end it in one hit, you can try and pop that, go for it. I don't know how it's going to be used yet. It might have some really ridiculous synergy for people who like to use Honor no Dachi, combo that with it, and then just go for a one-shot across the board. We'll see. I definitely see some people doing that, but who knows right now at this time. The next one is probably the one that is the most exciting for people, and that is the Magic Circle. Magic Circle Ancestral is getting quite the interesting addition to it. The first Magic Circle is that you will now only benefit from the Magic Circle buff. Nobody else will benefit from it, but who cares? You get 7-meter increase range on all of your casted abilities. All right, so for those of you who are using a staff in 6.0, this means that in 6.2, or whatever patch this is, you will have a 32-meter range on your abilities like Meteor, Arc Lightning, and even further range on God's Whip. All of these abilities, it is going to allow you to sit really far away from people and just hard cast skills at them. It seems like they're really trying to add a way for caster mages to become back into the game instead of everything being so instant cast oriented right now with the gameplay style for mages. So I know a lot of people who are really excited about this change. They want to be a caster mage, they want to use a staff, they want to just go for those big nuke bops on people with Arc Lightning again. So this is going to be really exciting to see in the future for those of you who like to be mages. The other Magic Circle makes it a larger area than it normally is. It doesn't really specify how much bigger, but it sounds like it could potentially be really good in more of a large, like, you know, raid v raid AoE fighting. If you're going to be concentrated on one location, you can put this down and it's going to give the benefits to everybody who's inside of it. So if it's a much larger area than it currently is, that would be able to affect more of your mages across the board who are inside and say a mage ball. Just everybody getting increased modifiers on all of their damage and crit rates. So that could be really useful also. The last Ancestral is going to be Dissonance. Dissonance, for those of you who remember, it's a little bit of a throwback to 3.0. The first Ancestral Dissonance is now a 6-meter circle. So those of you who played 3.0, Dissonance used to be a AoE reticle that you casted at a ground location. Then it went back to being a targeted skill again. This is what this Ancestral is. It's that same thing. It's a AoE reticle that you aim somewhere, and it will, everybody that it hits will drop their offhand weapon, weapon or shield, and they will lose 15% skill damage increase. So instead of it being a 35% skill damage reduction, it is now 15%, but it's an AoE, and everybody who's hit by it loses their offhand. The other Ancestral basically speeds it up and makes it arrive at the destination much quicker or near instant. That way you are getting the application of Dissonance almost immediately, and this is going to in turn reduce the amount of skill damage that the people do by 15% instead of 35%. That's your trade-off once more. So some interesting uses there with Dissonance. We'll have to see how it plays out. There is a little bit of thing here with the buff. We don't have this right now. It's something we don't have experience with until we do get into 6.0 and all that stuff, is that when there's a weaker faction, they will get a little bit of a buff. The buff is really meh. It gives you increased loot, increased loot drop, increased XP, increased honor for more in quest by 10%. and all those sort of things. And it's not super great, but it's there. They're looking at potentially making it more beneficial because it's not really impacting the weaker factions enough for them to be able to actually still do anything against the stronger factions. So we'll see what they do with that in the future. The big thing on here also is a bunch of skill changes. All right, archers, listen up. First one, though, is going to be for the Battle Rage boys. We are getting a little bit of a nerf, all right? Don't freak out, though, all right? Our bleeding combo damage is being reduced, all right? Bleeding combo damage is being reduced. So most of our damage on our skills, still the same, just that combo damage bonus from bleed is being nerfed a little bit. Fine. We'll be fine. It's fine. Next up is from Malediction. The skill cooldown is getting an increase on Blade Fall and Serpent's Bite. Sorcery, Searing Rain is getting a... sounds like it's a buff based on the wording of it. Hard to tell, but it sounds like the very last Meteor Strike from Searing Rain, you know, Fire Blast that hits the ground, is going to be a just large random amount. Sounds like they're trying to give people a reason to fully cast through their Searing Rain and try and make it worthwhile to do instead of cutting it early and doing something else. So we'll see how that plays out as well. Now the big one, archers. Again, listen up. Okay, Missile Rain Flame. This is going to increase the longer you hold the cast for it, the faster it's going to fire arrows. So the longer you hold it, the more you're going to fire and more quickly. Endless Arrow. Stone increase or decreases your rate of fire, but now it creates additional arrows that ricochet off of your primary target and hit additional targets nearby. So it gives you your main ability that you hold down and just boom, 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 boom. Sounds like it's getting an AoE addition to it, modification to it, and how it's going to work. So that could be really interesting for all you archer lovers. Concussion arrow or fending arrow, depending on the translation. The damage is being increased to targets that are tripped on use. And then this is the really big one, Deadeye. You are going to be immune to pull effects during the use of it, and each second that you stand still, you increase the range of your abilities by 1 meter up to a maximum of 20 meters. So for those of you archers who miss, you know, the old serpent sight and just firing from forever away, it's back. You want to sit on the back of a galleon and just be an artillery turret, you can do that again. You're back, baby. Archers, archers, archers. And then the last one is going to be a change to Swiftblade skills. So Swiftblade, for those of you who are interested in playing Swiftblade, you are getting buffs to some of these skills later on in the game. So think about that moving forward. Your first skill is the dash ability. They're going to increase, it sounds like, the the use of it in terms of its directional use. Just a little bit of correction on it to make it a little smoother and easier to use. Your Whirling Blades and Blade Vecra skills are getting a skill damage increase. The miniature Berserk ability that we talked about, the one that's a bird, it is going to get a little bit of a reworked effect. Instead of it now increasing your attack speed, that has been completely removed. It is now going to reduce your cooldown time on your skills by 40%. If you reuse it with Shadow Mirror, it's going to reduce it by 80% on all your skills from Swiftblade. So that's really interesting. That could have some really nice synergy. Sounds like the 50% damage reduction or damage increase taken is still there. Not sure if that's going to be worth still keeping and using over it, but we'll see. And the last one, which is probably the most interesting one for me from it, is that the footwork skill, the light footwork, the blue circle that you see, now when you use it with Shadow Mirror, it completely makes you immune to slowing effects. So you are now completely immune to slowing effects. That's really good against Battle Rage users, as they won't be able to trip you. Basically, it's a trip immune to people for the duration of it, who like to use it from Battle Rage, since people have to be slowed in order to be tripped by Whirlwind Slash and other things like that, ensnared as well from some other combinations. So that could actually have some really nice uses for your class or archer classes or any other class that wants to mix in Swiftblade into it. Being immune to slows is actually a pretty big deal when you think about it in a 1v1 scenario. Less impactful in terms of raid v raid, since you're still just going to be in a big glob of CC everywhere you go. But it'll still have its use, just not as effective in 1v1s. But that covers the main parts of the patch coming up. So a lot of big changes coming up to the game in the future. Really exciting stuff that's coming along. I'm looking forward to it. It should be really cool to see how this affects things later on in the game. But that is going to cover this video for right now. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for watching. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/savage, and definitely subscribe to us here as well, so that you know whenever we post a new video. Have a good one, and I'll see you in Aranor.